My husband cheated on me. I found burgundy lace lingerie in his car, likely left there deliberately by his mistress. It was a provocation, a declaration of war. When I threw the lingerie onto Daniel's office desk, he merely looked up at me, not a hint of panic in his eyes, despite being caught. My voice trembling, I demanded, "What is this?" He answered calmly, "Lingerie." Daniel leaned back in his chair, his nonchalant demeanor stinging me. He stared into my eyes and added, word for word, "Lace. Women's. Lingerie." He admitted it bluntly, "Yes, I cheated." I trembled with rage, but Daniel remained utterly composed. His lips curled into a cold, mocking smile. "Touching you in bed felt like touching myself," he sneered. "I lost interest in you a long time ago. If you can't stand it, then divorce me." Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. As he spoke, word after word, I froze, unable to move, my blood rushing back to my heart. It felt as if someone had clamped their hand around my throat, cutting off the air to my lungs. "But I should remind you," he continued, "I am crucial to Shin now, and you haven't been involved in company affairs for a long time." He stood up and approached me, then gently caressed my face with the back of his hand. "Your father, Robert, is cold and ruthless. When the time comes, for the sake of profit, I'm afraid he'll choose me and abandon you, his daughter, who is insignificant to the company." Only then did I understand why he had worked so tirelessly after we married, why he demanded I become a homemaker, and why he was so desperate for a child. I had thought he wanted to prove to Robert that my choice was not a mistake. It turned out he wanted to clip my wings himself, to trap me within the family, and then gradually replace me within the company. He would then have complete control over me, free to do whatever he pleased, while I would have no choice but to swallow my pride and endure this agonizing marriage. It felt as if someone had punched me in the gut, the pain was unbearable. After a long silence, I heard myself say, "We're getting divorced." Daniel's face grew cold. "What did you say?" I forced myself to detach from the pain of betrayal. I looked him directly in the eyes and repeated, "We're getting divorced." He suddenly gripped my jaw, forcing me to meet his gaze. His dark eyes were filled with a sinister coldness. "Divorce? You think divorcing me will pave the way for an easy life?" I scoffed and countered, "What else? Be prepared to lose everything." Daniel's eyes were icy and sharp, his gaze heavy. "Those dirty things you did to your illegitimate brother. Do you really think I'll keep covering for you after we divorce?" I froze, looking at him in disbelief. "What do you mean?" He sneered, his grip on my jaw tightening. "You set up your illegitimate brother to make Robert despise him. Did you think I'd forgotten about that? Did you think I'd let you off easy? I'll expose your true colors to everyone, let them all know how ruthless the seemingly harmless Shin family heiress truly is behind that facade. What do you think Robert will do when he finds out you're responsible for his precious son ending up in jail?" Back then, Robert intended for Ethan to inherit the company. Shin's current scale was largely due to my mother's family's influence and power. How could I possibly allow that illegitimate son to inherit everything? So I resorted to extreme measures, ensuring he had no chance of ever inheriting the company. The day I planned to act against Ethan, I asked Daniel, "Do you love me, even if I'm a ruthless, wicked woman?" What did he say then? He said, "I love you. Even if you're utterly wicked, I'll still love you. Even if everyone condemns you, I'll protect you and shield you from harm." Now, Daniel was using this against me as leverage. Daniel squeezed harder and harder. I couldn't help but cry out in "Let go. You ruthless woman." He sneered, every line in his face dripping with scorn. "I advise you, you'd better grit your teeth and be a good, supportive wife." Every word he uttered was a threat. "I absolutely won't go down alone. I have plenty of ways to ruin you." After left, I slumped to the floor, unable to regain my composure for a long time. I looked up, my gaze falling directly on the large wedding portrait on the wall. In the photo, we were beaming with happiness, and his eyes, looking at me, were overflowing with love. We didn't even make it to the 7-year itch. Our feelings had already dried up after 5 years. A hint of pretense mixed with true feelings makes everything worthless. But a spark of genuine emotion mixed with pretense can be sublime. Most people, once they fall in love, do many foolish things. To marry him, I knelt in the family study, punished by Robert, enduring beatings until I fainted. Robert had no choice but to let me marry him. Robert humbled himself to call off my engagement with the Song family, and even arranged for Daniel to join the company to train him. On our wedding day, Robert said only one thing to me: "I hope you won't regret this." At the time, I thought, how could I possibly regret it? Daniel was so good to me. I had married the man I loved. My future would be like the end of a fairy tale, with the princess and prince living happily ever after. Unfortunately, Daniel wasn't a prince, he was a kept man who would turn his back on you the moment he got what he wanted. I looked at the woman brazenly provoking me. I had just finished reading all her personal information this morning. Now I knew her better than she knew herself. His mistress was named Ashley. She was young, but brainless. Dressed head to toe in luxury brands, plastered with logos as if she feared no one would recognize them. Her every move reeked of unsophisticated vulgarity. Yet loved her, even if she was a brainless, selfish, and shallow woman. Ashley found me and said, "Daniel doesn't love you at all. You'd better just quietly give up your position as Mrs. Wen and save yourself the embarrassment." I eyed her impassively and asked, "Why? I am Daniel's lawfully wedded wife. Why should I give up my position to you? Looks like you're unwilling to give up your life of luxury, aren't you?" Ashley sneered, glancing at my limited edition Hermes Birkin bag. "Without, you probably wouldn't be able to afford a Hermes anymore, would you?" I watched her, a faint, unreadable smile on my lips. How many lies had Daniel told Ashley? Did not know that Daniel owed everything he had today entirely to me? I offered a friendly reminder. Before you become a mistress, you should always investigate the person's background. Otherwise, you might end up with nothing, used and discarded. She angrily demanded an explanation from me. I patiently explained. When I met Daniel, he was just an ordinary office worker earning $5,000 a month. His mother was gravely ill, and he couldn't even afford her medical bills or his sister's tuition fees. It was I who paid for his mother's medical expenses, arranged for his sister to study abroad, and even the shin where he works now is my family's company. I enunciated each word, as if to ensure she heard me clearly. Daniel is nothing but a kept man. Ashley's face gradually turned pale. She stared at me in disbelief. "You're lying, that's impossible. He told me he was the company's CEO. I chuckled softly. "My last name is Shin, his is Wen. What's the last name of the company he works for?" Ashley was utterly bewildered. I stood up and approached Ashley, a smirk playing on my lips. I took a few bills from my wallet and gently tucked them into her shirt. "You've been servicing my husband for so long. Consider this a small tip." Ashley looked utterly humiliated, tears welling up in her wide, innocent eyes from anger. "You." I leaned in slightly and whispered in her ear, "If you're going to be a whore, then be a good one. Why pretend to be doing it for free?" Ashley's eyes widened, and a gasp caught in her throat, unable to go up or down. I lightly stroked Ashley's cheek with the back of my hand, teasing her like a kitten. I said playfully, "You're very pretty. If can't support you anymore, remember to come find me. Serve me well, and money is nothing. I'm far richer than Daniel." I had just turned on the faucet in the bathroom when Daniel pushed the door open and walked in. I met his gaze through the mirror. His sinister glare pierced the thin air of the bathroom, heavy with menace. Daniel grabbed the back of my neck and dragged me to the bathtub, forcing me to my knees. He turned on the faucet and pressed my head down into the surging, icy water. Our first meeting was when I was drowning and he saved me. After that incident, I developed a fear of water, and he knew it. I choked, gasping for air, as the water relentlessly poured from the faucet, stealing my remaining breath. I flailed my arms helplessly, trying to break free, but he held me firmly, making it impossible to escape. In that moment, I realized the enormous innate power disparity between men and women. I was suffocating, my mind growing hazy. Just as I thought I would die in that wretched bathtub, Daniel let go. I gasped for air, fresh oxygen filling my lungs, alleviating the choking sensation. Daniel looked down at my pitiful state, his eyes filled with cold indifference. "You hit Ashley." My mind felt a bit foggy. When did I hit her? I chuckled inwardly. Even his attempts to frame me were so childish, almost cute. My limbs felt weak and numb. I numbly looked up at him, my voice raspy. A mistress dared to show up at my doorstep and provoke me? I was merciful not to kill her. He crouched down, gripping my neck, forcing me to look him in the eyes. "Ashley is my woman. Why are you picking a fight with a young girl? Do you know how long it took me to calm her down?" I scoffed. "Have you managed to smooth over all those lies you told?" "Daniel." I bit out the name, the sarcasm heavy in my tone. Enraged by my words, Daniel's hand tightened around my throat, as if he intended to strangle me. His pupils darkened, turning from black to bloodshot red. He pressed down so hard that he gritted his teeth. I struggled desperately but couldn't move him an inch. He regained his composure and released me. I stumbled, fell into his arms, and was violently shoved away. His warning was clear and forceful. "I'm warning you, don't touch my woman." I sat on the cold tile floor. The moment Daniel left, all strength drained from my body, and I was enveloped by a dizzying sense of suppression and cold. I looked up at the camera hidden behind the facial serum on the vanity, my eyes gradually turning cold. I took the video of Daniel assaulting me to Robert. Robert's face was livid as he watched the video. He locked the tablet and looked at me. "What do you plan to do?" I declared firmly, "I'm getting a divorce. I'm going to make him lose everything and have no place in Riverton." The anger in Robert's eyes slowly transformed into admiration. He said, "I knew that even though you claimed you'd step back from the company to focus on family, you had a lot of people planted inside." I wasn't surprised in the least. Everyone except Daniel knew I wouldn't completely withdraw from the company and must have guessed I had a backup plan. The people I kept in the company were fiercely loyal to me. I was well aware of everything happening within the company, far more than I let on in my daily life. Even secretary was my person. He was the one who gave me Ashley's information. All the top-tier lawyers in Riverton received my invitation to form my legal team. Daniel hadn't anticipated this outcome. He thought I would continue to endure. He demanded, "Are you really going to burn all bridges and divorce me?" I slowly exhaled a stream of smoke, its pale, bluish wisps blurring my vision. I advised him, "You'd better find yourself a top-tier lawyer as soon as possible. Coming from your background, you wouldn't know, but people like us, with money, never skimp on legal fees." Daniel scoffed, kicked the coffee table, his dark eyes filled with sinister coldness. "Have you forgotten what I said? I'll let the whole world know your true colors. You conspired to send your brother to jail, you assaulted Ashley, and you did all sorts of dirty deeds for Shin." I detested being threatened to my face more than anything. I calmly took a puff from my cigarette and asked him, "Do you really think I'm all-powerful enough to frame Ethan and send him to jail right under Robert's nose?" Ethan's imprisonment was tacitly approved by Robert. And no, I didn't frame him, Ethan broke the law himself. I simply chose not to cover for him. Daniel stared at me, dumbfounded. These brutal truths of the upper echelon were simply too shocking for someone from his humble background. Still trying to save face, he stubbornly retorted, "Divorcing me will affect Shin's stock price. Your father won't agree to it." I extinguished the cigarette in my hand and calmly looked at him. Times have changed. People look down on disloyal social climbers. In their eyes, you're a social climber who rose through your wife, then turned ungrateful, cheated, and even assaulted your wife for your mistress, a domestic abuser. Who do you think public opinion will favor? Daniel's chest heaved violently, his eyes bloodshot. I scoffed, looking at him. Do you really think ability can trump lineage? Top-tier power and wealth are like AIDS. They're only transmitted through blood and from mother to child. Your abilities are outstanding, but there are many people in the world just as capable as you. Shin can replace you anytime, but I am Robert's only daughter. I stepped forward, staring him down, and sneered, "Do you know what only means? It means irreplaceable, unique. Never mind that I hit your precious mistress. Even if I killed both of you, Robert would still protect me, because I am Robert's only daughter." I had Daniel's belongings packed and sent to his office. As received his belongings, he also received news that he was being reported internally. I was waiting for the elevator at the law firm. When the doors opened, I unexpectedly met a pair of indifferent, cold dark eyes. Caleb looked at me with a detached expression as he stepped out of the elevator. I instinctively took a step back. "Long time no see." His voice was faint, devoid of any emotion. Indeed, I squeezed out, my voice dry. The people around us, sensing the atmosphere, tactfully retreated, leaving just the two of us. We stood facing each other. He had matured a great deal, exuding an aura of power that belonged solely to those in high positions. The atmosphere was somewhat awkward. I gritted my teeth and met his dark eyes again, eyes that seemed to see right through everything. He said, "I heard you're getting a divorce." My breath hitched. He had asked the question after all. I was originally supposed to marry Caleb. But for Daniel, I had insisted on breaking off our engagement. He disappeared for half a month. When he returned, his mental state wasn't good, even the smile on his lips was forced. He said, "I hope you won't regret it. I truly wish you peace and happiness." Caleb's gaze fell on the scarf around my neck. His eyes darkened, and he reached out and pulled it off. Without the scarf to conceal them, the choke marks on my neck were fully exposed. He did this? My eyes darted away, and I instinctively tried to snatch the scarf back from his hand, but he evaded me. Caleb's gaze was still, yet his eyes held a sinister fury. "I'm asking you, did he do this? Is your divorce because of domestic abuse?" I looked directly into Caleb's eyes, my tone calm. "It has nothing to do with you. Caleb stared at me for a long time, the emotions in his eyes gradually replaced by indifference. Fine, he said, it has nothing to do with me. We watched each other in silence for nearly half a minute. Then, I walked past him and directly into the elevator. Caleb frowned slightly. As the elevator door slowly closed, Caleb's face gradually disappeared from view. As the elevator slowly descended, my stiff spine relaxed for a moment. When the elevator doors opened, I looked up and saw my best friend Quinn's face. Like a drowning person grasping at a lifeline, I tiredly said, I saw Caleb. Quinn didn't seem surprised by my words. She linked her arm through mine and led me out. My mind was filled with all the past memories of Caleb and me. By the time I pulled myself out of the recollection, I was already in Quinn's passenger seat. Only then did I ask Quinn, when did you get back to the country? This morning. I heard you were getting a divorce, so I came back. Guess who I came back with? I didn't answer. Quinn answered her own question, Caleb. I frowned. What? I think he came the moment he heard about your divorce, just like me. There's nothing between him and me anymore. He's in charge of the song, so it's natural for him to be back in the country. It was probably just a coincidence. Quinn looked me up and down and chuckled. If you say it's not because of you, then it's not because of you. Suddenly, her expression changed slightly. Why came back isn't important. What's important now is how you're going to deal with that bastard Daniel. I sighed. How else? Divorce. I don't want to continue this marriage anymore. I hadn't told Quinn about Daniel laying hands on me. Quinn and I had grown up together, thick as thieves. I was genuinely afraid that if she knew Daniel had choked me, she'd lose her temper and find someone to go after him. I would handle things with Daniel myself. There was no need to get Quinn's hands dirty. Quinn lit a cigarette, the smoke veiling her gaze as she exhaled. Don't worry about it. Let me handle it. Quinn's family wealth was beyond him. Imagination. Every year, they contributed to charity rankings just to avoid drawing too much attention to themselves. The family was notoriously low-key, making Quinn herself an outlier, incredibly high-profile. Her favorite thing was to generously spend money. She was indeed a true heiress. Quinn's ruthlessness stunned even me, making me exclaim, she's truly something else. She simply didn't care what others thought of her. She even took that phrase, she's truly something else, as a compliment. I was genuinely afraid Quinn might go too far and end up killing Daniel, dirtying her hands. Quinn accompanied me shopping, and we bought quite a few things. That evening, we found a bar. Just as we had finished 2 drinks, a commotion broke out at the entrance. Quinn and I followed everyone's gaze. Caleb entered, surrounded by people, someone talking to him, which he listened to indifferently. He must have felt Quinn's and my eyes on him, as he looked up and glanced our way. The moment our eyes met, I instinctively looked away. Quinn waved generously and greeted him. She then playfully glanced at me. Running into him twice in one day, that's quite a fate, isn't it? My breath caught for a second. I was afraid Caleb would walk over, but he merely glanced our way and left. I let out a long breath, lowering my gaze to the drink in my glass. Do you really think it's fate? I countered Quinn, what else? Do you think Caleb, who's been abroad for years, would suddenly return for no reason? He must have heard whispers about your divorce. I bet he's dying to be your mistress now. I didn't want to bother thinking about it. Offhandedly, I said, things between him and me ended a long time ago. I no longer had the energy to invest in another relationship. The good thing about marriage is that everyone accurately finds their own comeuppance. I had already received my comeuppance. I wasn't in a hurry to find the next one. After a few rounds of drinks, Quinn began to list Daniel's transgressions over the years. I still remember how you practically gave him everything back then, yet he'd still act superior, humiliating you in front of all of us. When you got married, there was no financial contribution from his side for the wedding. You held the wedding at my family's hotel, and he didn't spend a single cent on the reception. I found a designer for your wedding dress, and even the plane tickets for his family from his hometown to attend the wedding were paid out of your own pocket. He didn't even pay for the suit he wore, you bought it. After marriage, he used being your husband to quickly get promoted into management, becoming a standout among his peers, achieving a significant social climb. He became the only one from his village to truly make something of himself. Later, he demanded you leave your career to prepare for pregnancy, painting a perfect picture of a family of 3 for you. If you showed even a little attachment to your career, he'd start being dramatic, saying you valued the company more than your family, making you feel guilty and willingly give up your work to become a housewife. Luckily, you listened to my advice back then and kept trusted people within the company. Otherwise, you truly would have been completely pushed out. Losing a marriage isn't a fatal loss, but losing your wealth and power would be a disaster. As recounted all the things Daniel had done over the years, I listened in silence, secretly marveling at Quinn's incredible memory. He's the type of kept man who wants to have his cake and eat it too, expecting to make money without lifting a finger, while also having affairs and a virtuous wife waiting for him at home with hot meals. Where in the world do you find such a good deal? I drained the wine in my glass. I truly never thought I would give my heart to someone like that. At that moment, Quinn, tipsy from the alcohol, wrapped an arm around me and lightly patted my face, a hint of playful teasing in her gesture. You're rich and beautiful. Your husband wants to transfer company assets, but you already have the evidence. Just file a lawsuit, and he'll be spending time in jail. If you really can't stomach that mistress, I'll find someone to rough her up. There are plenty of women who've been played until they're half dead. One more won't make a difference. I swallowed the last sip of wine in my glass. The more I thought about it, the more I realized Quinn was right. The moment I walked in, I saw Daniel sitting dejectedly on the couch. His tie was loosely around his neck, his hair disheveled, and his chin covered in dark stubble. He looked up at me somewhat bewildered, his eyes bloodshot. It seemed the internal investigation had taken its toll on him. I had never seen him so disheveled and demoralized. He glanced at Quinn, who was helping me through the door, and his gaze darkened. Quinn was about to say something, but I told her to leave first. After left, Daniel looked at me, his voice hoarse and laced with coldness and anger. I won't agree to a divorce. I'll drag this out, wear you down. You want me to lose everything? Dream on. Half of all assets acquired during our marriage are mine. I won't let go until I get my share. If we go through a contested divorce, it'll cause a huge scandal, which will affect Shin's stock price, and your losses will definitely be greater than mine. Sure enough, he has nothing to lose, and I have everything to lose. I looked down at him, completely unafraid of his threats. I scoffed and retorted, you can't even find a decent lawyer now. How do you expect to stand against my formidable legal team? A small internal investigation nearly broke you. If we go through a contested divorce, can you handle all the evidence I'll submit in court? Daniel's gaze, chilling like frost, fixated on me. Quinn's back, so you think you have backing now, and you're not afraid of anything? I found it baffling. What did my best friend Quinn have to do with this? Our divorce is between you and me. I was never afraid of you. I am going to divorce you. You were unfaithful to my marriage, and I will divorce you no matter the cost. Seeing sullen face infuriated me. I picked up the ceramic cup from the table and smashed it violently onto the floor. I won't put up with this half-baked life. The ceramic cup shattered into countless pieces on the floor. The family and the Shin family have both intervened with law firms. I'd like to see which reputable lawyer dares to take your case. I smiled broadly, my voice laced with mockery. Threats are for those who can afford the consequences, not for a useless person like you with no risk resistance. Daniel's face turned ashen, inch by inch. He forced out a sentence through gritted teeth, you're ruthless enough. Daniel's face darkened completely. His voice was low and hoarse, turning icy word by word. You can't bear children, so what if I find someone else to have them with? Do you think your petty cash makes you special? You're nothing but a barren woman. Daniel grabbed my neck and pinned me against the wall. He was much taller and stronger than me, but I felt no fear. I calmly met his eyes and asked, are you trying to kill me? Daniel's eyes grew increasingly bloodshot, and the pressure on my neck tightened, as if he genuinely intended to strangle me. But I knew he wouldn't dare. He was too cowardly, wanting to be ruthless but unable to truly be so. He feared the power behind me, he feared my family background, and he feared my friends who would stop at nothing. He knew that if I died, there would be plenty of people who wouldn't let him off the hook. He couldn't afford to gamble, nor did he dare. He slowly released his grip. The bulging veins on his forehead and his bloodshot eyes all showed his extreme rage. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out, I will absolutely not leave empty-handed. Daniel was suspended and continued to be investigated. Meanwhile, I returned to my top-floor office, resuming my previous position. Emily, my former secretary, reported on the project progress during this period. After listening, I instructed her to find someone to keep an eye on Ashley for me. My lawyer said Daniel refused to sign the divorce agreement and insisted on appealing. Then we'll pursue a contested divorce. When I went downstairs to have dinner with Quinn, I ran into Daniel, who was being escorted out by security, carrying a box. Quinn frowned. How utterly dreadful. Daniel noticed our gaze, looked our way, and composed himself, straightening his tie before walking towards us. I found a lawyer. I'm definitely going through a contested divorce with you, and I'll spread the news. I'd like to see how long Shen's stock price can hold up. I'll also sue Shen for wrongful termination, and I'll make sure you're bogged down with lawsuits. His threats were just the same few phrases repeated over and over. I ignored them. I looked at him with a cold smile. A documentary of your life would be enough to show people the consequences of his recklessness. Quinn added mockingly from beside me, everyone wants to watch satisfying drama, who wants to watch a pathetic display? On my wedding day, Quinn casually straightened Daniel's tie, a faint, unreadable smile on her lips, and warned him, today you've climbed the social ladder, but you don't quite understand our rules. If you ever hurt her, I have countless ways to make your life a living hell. From that day on, Daniel would cower in fear whenever he saw Quinn. After finished speaking, Daniel merely glared at her, not daring to utter a single word in response. Quinn rolled her eyes at him and led me away. Neither of us saw the malicious glint in Daniel's eyes as he watched us leave. I ran into Caleb again at a charity gala. He didn't often attend such events, and everyone wanted to make his acquaintance. I was hiding in the smoking lounge, having a cigarette, when Caleb pushed the door open and entered. He met my gaze through the haze of smoke. He held out his hand. Give me a cigarette. I took out the cigarette pack and offered it to him. He pulled out a cigarette and lit it. The filter became moistened as he spoke, his voice hoarse, asking me, when did you start smoking? Half a year ago, I explained instinctively. I'm not addicted. Half a year ago, I completely gave up on the idea of having children. It was also around that time that Daniel met Ashley. Daniel's attention gradually shifted away from me. I couldn't find any clues, and I was unwilling to suspect him, assuming he was just too exhausted from company matters. His business trips became more frequent, and the nights grew lonely. One late night, I imitated Quinn, lit a cigarette, and just started smoking. I didn't want to linger in a confined space with Caleb. After a brief chat, I found an excuse to leave the smoking lounge. Caleb followed me into the hallway and grabbed my wrist. I struggled twice, and he released me. The light fell on him. His eyes and brows were striking, his features well-defined and refined, his cold, hard silhouette radiating an intimidating aura. I knew Caleb possessed good looks. I've already intervened with the law firms. No lawyer will take his case. I was momentarily stunned, unable to react. Quinn has already intervened with the law firms, you didn't need to do this. Caleb looked somewhat impatient. She's her, I'm me. Some people might not show respect to the Quinn family, but they'll certainly show it to me. I twisted my lips, truly unable to imagine who wouldn't show respect to the Quinn family. I offered a dry thank you. Caleb's gaze fell on my neck. I instinctively tried to cover it, then remembered the bruises had faded. Caleb caught my small movement. That scum who lays hands on women, what makes him think he can still stay with you? He climbed the social ladder once and forgot where he came from. You're too soft-hearted, don't let him trick you with his crying, drama, and pleading. Cheating and physical abuse happen once, or they happen countless times. Don't believe his lies, thinking he can change. Divorcing a worthless scum like him won't involve any other interests. Don't ever go back. Don't give that scum a second chance to hurt you. I listened, dumbfounded. This was probably the first time I'd ever heard Caleb curse, and I found it hard to believe. He spoke at length until his secretary came over and said Mrs. Song was calling for him, at which point he fell silent and left. Quinn emerged from the corner, her expression subtle. Caleb was incredibly manly this time. I rolled my eyes. Do you think everyone is like you? So toxic they could poison themselves just by licking their lips? Quinn shrugged, a proud look on her face. Thanks for the compliment. Later, Caleb always seemed to be orchestrating accidental encounters. When these so-called coincidences became too frequent, I started to get annoyed. Do you realize I'm in the middle of a divorce? If someone photographs us acting familiar, Daniel could appeal and claim assets that shouldn't belong to him. My tone was relatively calm, but I couldn't help but complain. Caleb paused for a moment. I hadn't considered that. It was my oversight. Daniel had been unfaithful to me. All I could think about now was making him lose everything, and I certainly didn't want to get entangled with Caleb. I didn't want to immediately jump into another man's arms right after extricating myself from an unsuccessful marriage. My unsuccessful marriage had taught me that men wouldn't reciprocate your love just because you gave it. Instead, they'd take it for granted, completely forgetting their own worth. Moreover, my choice of Daniel back then had already proven that Caleb wasn't important to me. Everything in the world is based on personal interests. My engagement to Caleb hadn't been based on deep affection between us, but rather on the greater financial benefits our families would gain from the alliance. So, after I proposed breaking off the engagement, Robert conceded several valuable business collaborations as compensation. Caleb had verbally claimed he was letting me go for my sake, but when you truly love someone deeply, you don't think about letting them go for their sake. You'll exhaust every option, use every means, to keep her by your side. But didn't. Now that he was approaching me, it was merely to make up for the regrets that had lingered in his heart from back then. I didn't want it, nor did I want to get entangled further. My expression was serious, and my tone sincere. Caleb, you need to stop this. There won't be any other possibilities between us. Even if I'm ready to move on to another relationship, it won't be with you. After I finished speaking, I left, hoping Caleb would listen and leave me in peace. Outside, the sky was overcast. My phone buzzed with a text message from Daniel. Wife, I don't want to divorce you. Let's make up. I replied expressionlessly, sign the divorce agreement. I'm downstairs at your house. I won't leave until you come out. I walked to the window and saw Daniel standing downstairs. The rain began to fall little by little, and he didn't have an umbrella. He looked up, our eyes met, and he knelt, his knees buckling. My expression remained undisturbed. I closed the curtains, unwilling to watch any more. Daniel had always been good at putting on a show. I used to love him deeply, so I often fell for his tricks. But now I didn't love him, and watching him like that only made me feel disgusted. I woke up the next morning to find him still kneeling there. He had knelt all night, truly persistent. Unwilling to have any more interaction with him, I had the security guard send him away, then went to the company. As I came out of the conference room, Emily followed me into my office and said, Eleanor, there's a new development regarding the person you asked me to keep an eye on. Emily's expression was somewhat subtle as she handed me the tablet. I found it strange. Emily was always professional, never letting her emotions show at work. Why was she so unusual today? To display such complex emotions? I looked at the photos on the tablet and froze for a moment. GYN clinic with Ashley, her hand resting on her not yet showing belly, her face full of happiness. I swiped the screen. The next image was Ashley's prenatal scan results. Ashley was pregnant. I sent the photos and diagnosis report that Emily had collected to my lawyer. No wonder Daniel knelt in the rain all night. He wanted to reconcile with me, to use my money to raise his and Ashley's child. How ridiculous. I had never imagined Ashley would get pregnant. During our 5 years of marriage, Daniel and I had tried countless times, but I never conceived. 2 years ago, I suggested we both get checked, but Daniel insisted only he get tested, refusing to let me undergo any examinations. He said my health was always fine, and if there was a problem, it must be with him. The test results showed he was healthy, with no fertility issues. I concluded the problem was with me, but Daniel would fly into a rage and become paranoid whenever I mentioned getting tested. He'd say it was better not to have children, that he wanted a few more years of just the two of us. Gradually, I gave up on the idea of getting tested myself. Now was pregnant, so the problem must indeed be with me. The next moment, I asked Emily to arrange a checkup for me. I soon had the examination. Dr. Evans looked at my results, appearing hesitant to speak. I already had an answer in my mind. I know I probably have fertility issues, Dr. Evans. Please feel free to speak plainly. Your report indicates you've been on long-term contraceptive medication. I froze, trying with my remaining sanity to comprehend the statement, but I couldn't make sense of it. I choked up slightly. I have never taken the medication you're referring to. The doctor guessed, explaining, then someone must have tricked you into taking them. Because of your long-term medication use, your system has been damaged, and it will be difficult to have children in the future. The doctor's lips moved, but I couldn't hear anything anymore. I already had the answer in my heart. There was only one person in this world who didn't want me to have a child. My husband, Daniel. I instructed my secretary to send all the medications I had taken for testing. It was finally discovered that the vitamins I took daily had been swapped with birth control pills. Daniel had prepared the vitamins for me. From the moment we got married until now, he had always been the one to get them ready. Whenever they were running low, he'd restock them for me and remind me to take them every day. I used to consider this his care and affection for me, taking them daily without ever forgetting. I never expected that what I believed to be care and affection was actually his malicious scheme. I looked at the vitamins on the office desk and instructed Emily, send the medication and the test report to my lawyer. Dispirited, I locked myself in the bedroom, neither eating nor drinking all day. Finally, Quinn forcefully pried open the lock. Light poured in, and I instinctively looked up. Quinn's face was backlit, so I couldn't clearly see her expression, but she radiated a formidable aura, making me tremble. Quinn stood there, staring at me for a while, then slowly walked over and crouched in front of me. I looked up at her blankly, unsure how to respond. She gently stroked my head, suppressing her temper as she coaxed me. "Do you want me to kill him to get revenge for you?" I couldn't hold back anymore and burst into tears. I hadn't cried when I found the burgundy lace lingerie, nor when Ashley came to provoke me. I hadn't cried even when Daniel choked my neck and threatened me, or when I learned Ashley was pregnant. But now I was sobbing, gasp in G for breath, as if the sky had fallen, the earth had opened up, as if I had no tomorrow. Quinn held me tightly in her arms, gently patting my back to comfort me. I merely took one wrong step, chose the wrong man. Why did I have to endure all this? Daniel knew how much I wanted a child, how much I longed to be a mother. Countless times in his arms, I had described the picture of our happy family of 3. I tearfully recounted to him my mother's aloofness and coldness during my upbringing, swearing I wouldn't be like her, that I would dote on my child and be a good, qualified mother. What was Daniel thinking when I told him all this? Would he be embracing his mistresses, mocking my naivety, my wild fantasies, how he had me firmly under his control, dreaming dreams that would never come true? The thought of all this gave me gut-wrenching pain. My tears were hot, desperate, and hysterical. Quinn continuously wiped away my overflowing tears. I tore open all the pain and fear I had accumulated, like shattering a mirror, and Quinn witnessed my despair and struggle firsthand. The next day, Ashley found me again. She pulled out a blood-stained note and placed it on the office desk. "Someone taped this to my door this morning." I looked down at the note, which read, "You and the child in your belly will die." I said expressionlessly, "If you're threatened, you should go to the police. Why come to me?" Ashley chuckled, as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. "Someone of Eleanor's power, wishing for the death of both mother and child, isn't something I can stop just by calling the police, is it?" I sneered. "Don't you dare accuse me. If I had such disregard for human life, do you think you and Daniel would still be alive? I know this note wasn't from you. You wouldn't stoop to such a thing. I've heard many stories about Eleanor. You're ruthless and leave no trace when you do bad things. I think this note must have been placed by someone close to you, like Miss Quinn." I scrutinized Ashley. She was completely different from when I first met her. Today, she was intelligent, calm, her calculating nature evident in her eyes. I chuckled inwardly. So, the vulgar and brainless impression from our first meeting was all an act. I looked again at the note on the desk. Quinn wouldn't do something so childish. She'd act directly, leaving no time for anyone to prepare. Robert. He wouldn't bother with such useless tricks. He'd have Ashley kidnapped, put on an operating table, and have her uterus removed. Then who could it be? I shifted my gaze to Ashley. "If had made a move, you wouldn't be alive to say these words to me right now." The emotions in Ashley's eyes were clear to me. A dark current surged in her eyes, as if she resented the unfairness of fate, protesting why people like us could decide their lives or deaths with a single word, while she couldn't even resist. "I really envy the innate confidence you people have, built on money. You can nonchalantly decide our fate, us people from the bottom." I watched her calmly, my voice cold. "We're not that powerful. Don't wrongly label us." A helpless, bitter smile appeared on Ashley's lips. In a world that shames poverty but not immorality, poverty itself is the original sin. "I'm not like you. I was born into a family so poor you can't imagine. As far back as I can remember, our roof was always leaking, my bedding was perpetually damp, and Robert was a gambler who'd bet away the money meant for repairs, which is why I hate rainy days. When I came to provoke you, it was only because I was so scared. I didn't want to live in fear and go hungry and cold every day like before, so I clung to Daniel as my last straw." Her bitter smile deepened, her eyes full of helplessness. "Daniel was generous, so I believed everything he said. I really did want to rise to power. Even if I knew the chances were slim, I still wanted to try my luck." I listened to her silently. I had done my research, D'Ant lied to me once. I asked her, "So you risked everything to get pregnant, hoping to use the child in your belly as leverage to climb the social ladder, but you didn't realize that everything Daniel owned came from me? You and the child in your belly will get nothing, because I will reclaim everything I gave Daniel, including every penny he spent on you. I will get it all back." The smile on Ashley's face slowly vanished. She seemed to think that by telling me all this, I would mercifully let her go. But why should I? Does the world really work that whoever is weaker is always right? I looked at her expressionlessly. I was indeed born wealthy and have never known poverty. Your impoverished background is not my fault. To put it harshly, it's because you didn't accumulate good karma in your past life and were born into the wrong family. But none of this justifies your scheming against me. The light in Ashley's eyes dimmed inch by inch. Suddenly, I changed the subject. But if you're willing to help me, I can let you go. Ashley seemed to recall the scene when I teased her during our first meeting, and she instinctively clutched her clothes, her face wary. I don't sleep with women. I couldn't help but chuckle. Don't worry, I'm not interested in your body. Ashley's wariness didn't lessen at all. She asked me, what do you want, then? I tilted my head and looked at her. Is the child in your belly Daniel's? Ashley froze, cold sweat beading on her forehead, her hands on the office desk gradually clenching into fists, as if enveloped by fear. Noticing her subtle change, I raised an eyebrow and pressed, is it his? Ashley insisted stubbornly, yes. I took photos from my bag and slapped them on the office desk. Then what's this? Ashley looked at the photos, which showed her intimately entering and leaving hotels with different men, and even bringing men back to the apartment Daniel bought for her. People like Ashley never put all their eggs in one basket, Nev. Or betting everything on one man. They know better than anyone how heartless men can be, forgetting anyone they'd used once their needs were met, so casting a wide net is their professional rule. Only an ignorant fool like Daniel would believe Ashley would be with him forever, devoted only to him. Ashley curled her lips, and under my gaze, asked, do people who are too clever live long? Aren't you afraid of an early death? I sneered, unfazed by her sudden question. Only then did she admit, the child isn't Daniel's. I continued to ask her, did give you some documents? Ashley stared at me for a long time, then slowly nodded. Daniel did give me documents to keep. He said that if anything happened to him, I could use them as a safeguard for me and the child, that the document would ensure our safety. Daniel truly loved Ashley. He could give her such important documents, not thinking of using them to save himself, but completely preoccupied with protecting Ashley and his child. Hand over the documents, and I'll let you off the hook. I won't sue to get back the money Daniel spent on you. Ashley's eyes darkened, and she looked at me without flinching. I want money. I raised an eyebrow, not expecting Ashley to dare to make demands of me. 10 million. Ashley was unwilling to quit while she was ahead. She actually dared to ask for 10 million. You want 10 million? I said softly, my voice laced with menace. Otherwise, I'll make the documents public. Just as I was about to speak, my phone rang. Emily's voice came from the other end. Eleanor, we've got the items. Excellent. I smiled and hung up. Just moments ago, my people had turned Ashley's apartment upside down and found the documents. I glanced at the photos Emily had sent, then placed my phone on the office desk and slid it towards Ashley, asking, is this the document? Ashley's face instantly turned pale. Her fingers clenched tightly, nails digging into her flesh, and her breathing hitched. She asked, in disbelief, how did you find? I chuckled softly, was it difficult? I feigned innocence as I asked her, why didn't you even bother buying a safe? Didn't anyone teach you that important documents should be kept in a safe? Given her upbringing, naturally, no one would have taught her these things. She played the victim card, trying to gain my sympathy, trying to morally bind me by placing me on a pedestal. Wasn't it fair for me to humiliate her with the very background she was most self-conscious and sensitive about? She took a deep breath, holding back her tears. I knew I had won this round, completely. Ashley stood up, a corner of her lip twitching, subtly hinting at a victor's air. She said, have your usual Bentley checked. I had someone inspect the Bentley mentioned. The inspector told me that someone had tampered with the brakes. My hands, hanging at my sides, involuntarily clenched into fists. In an instant, my palms were drenched in cold sweat. I checked the surveillance footage. The last person to drive the car was Daniel. He drove it to a remote auto shop in the suburbs, a place owned by his college classmate. After a severe beating, the owner confessed everything. Daniel had given him a large sum of money to tamper with the brakes. As classmates spoke endlessly, my back was already soaked with cold sweat. At that time, Daniel and I hadn't even fallen out, yet he was already planning to quietly kill me. He didn't want me to have children, silently poisoning me, and I was still able to maintain my dignity, preventing myself from collapsing. But now, my remaining sanity, dignity, and forbearance all shattered with this news, collapsing entirely, instantly becoming ruins. Ashley telling me this news was not out of kindness at all. She wanted me to collapse, to feel gut-wrenching pain, to be utterly despairing, and she had certainly succeeded. It turned out I hadn't won. I trembled all over, unable to stand. Quinn stepped forward to support me, but I as impossible to hold up. I collapsed to my knees, beginning to vomit violently and uncontrollably. My insides felt like they were being twisted into pieces by a meat grinder, the pain unbearable. A breath hitched in my chest, neither going up nor down. In that moment, I forgot how to breathe, and a sense of suffocation spread throughout my body. I heard Quinn frantically calling my name, but I didn't even have the strength to respond. It was as if my vocal cords had been stolen by the heavens. I opened my mouth, but not a single sound came out. I had always thought Daniel only wanted money, wanted power over the Eleanor, but I never imagined that the person sleeping beside me would plan to take my life. Deeply affectionate when loving you, relentlessly destructive when harming you. In frantic gaze, I lost consciousness. When I regained consciousness, the smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. I looked around and realized I was in the hospital. I turned my head, my gaze falling on the transparent 4-line hanging by the bedside. Emily rushed in, delighted to see me awake. "You're finally awake." I instinctively asked her, "Where's Quinn?" Emily's eyes darted away. Realizing something was wrong, I pressed urgently, "I asked you, where is she?" Emily stammered, "Miss Quinn went up the mountain." "Oh no." I yanked out the 4-line, a sharp pain shooting through my hand. I didn't stop, getting out of bed lightheaded, stumbling out. Emily steadied me. I instructed, "Take me there." Quinn was an absolute lunatic. I couldn't let Quinn do anything that would harm herself. By the time I arrived, Daniel had already been half buried. Quinn sat in a chair, radiating a formidable aura that was terrifyingly oppressive. "Stop." I shouted at the people burying him, then looked at Quinn, my voice softening. "Quinn, don't do this." Daniel, as if he had seen his savior, screamed and pleaded with me, "Ellie, save me." I didn't spare Daniel a glance, focusing on Quinn, who was ex-braze. Shamelessly exhaling cigarette smoke. She didn't look at me, but curled her lip, a strange, ruthless edge in her expression. "He tried to kill you. It's only right that I bury him alive now." She looked at Daniel, her dark eyes filled with coldness and deep chill, radiating a murderous aura that suffocated him. Daniel, who had been constantly begging me for help, was also scared into silence. At a single glance from Quinn, someone stepped forward and stuffed Daniel's mouth with a piece of rags. Daniel could only emit a few muffled whimpers, unintelligible. "Daniel certainly deserves to die, but not by your hand. Don't let him dirty your hands." I wasn't a person with strong moral principles, and I believed that for just one life, the all-powerful Quinn family could surely cover it up for Quinn and ensure she wouldn't suffer any harm. But I felt it wasn't worth it, truly not worth it. To let Daniel dirty Quinn's hands was not worth it. The ferocity in Quinn's eyes didn't diminish at all. She commanded, "Keep burying." The people working were Quinn's people, and receiving her command, they resumed burying him. Tears welled up in my eyes from urgency. Quinn was determined to kill Daniel, but I absolutely couldn't let Quinn's hands be stained with Daniel's filthy blood. "It's not worth it, truly not worth it." My hand rested on Quinn's shoulder, tears streaming down my face from my desperation. I pleaded, "It's really not worth it. I'll punish him myself. Don't let him dirty your hands." Quinn's brows were furrowed with cold, indifferent emotion. "If you don't let me bury him alive, is it because you still love him? Are you clinging to your old feelings for him?" I quickly shook my head. "No. I'm not a fool. I've long lost any feelings for him. I just feel it's not worth it for a man like him." Quinn took one last drag of her cigarette, then flicked the butt to the ground and crushed it. She stared into my eyes for a long time, scrutinizing my face inch by inch, missing no subtle expression, seemingly confirming my sincerity. My chest pounded uncontrollably, and my back was drenched in cold sweat. After a long moment, she raised her hand to wipe away the tear stains on my face, her tone softening. "Why are you crying? If something happens, I won't drag you into it. I genuinely feel it's not worth it. You shouldn't dirty your hands for someone like him." Quinn chuckled softly and commanded, "Dig him out." I breathed a sigh of relief. I felt like a drowning person finally pulled from the water, gaining a chance to breathe. I looked at Daniel with indifference. I already had my own plan. Quinn's people sent Daniel to the estate. I questioned Daniel, "Was I not good to you? If you didn't love me anymore, you could have divorced me. Why did you want to harm me? What did I do to make you hate me enough to want me dead?" Daniel knew that at this point, begging and cowering were useless. He simply dropped all pretense and tore off his mask. Daniel's eyes were filled with resentment. "Your family, your friends, even the people at the company, they all looked down on me. They all thought I was a kept man who got ahead because of you." I couldn't help but retort, "Didn't you climb the social ladder because of me? Before you met me, your monthly salary was $5,000, and you had to support your whole family. I helped you change jobs, I paid for your family's expenses. Didn't you achieve your social climb because of me? Daniel sneered. You just got lucky, born into a good family. Otherwise, you'd be worse than me. You're selfish, hypocritical. For your own gain, you even framed your own brother, Ethan. After you got the company, I could make you give up work and go home to prepare for pregnancy with just a few words. I didn't even know why you engineered Ethan's imprisonment back then. It's only now I realize you never gave up on the company. The company is filled with your people. Even my own secretary was bribed by Why. Oh, you to report my work and my schedule. You're truly terrifying. His eyes were bloodshot, and he grew angrier with each word. Why do you people get to have all of this, enjoying the most exclusive resources? You can buy millions of dollars worth of jewelry without blinking, purchase hundreds of millions in property on a whim. Why should I, just because I was born into that kind of family, be constantly scorned by people like you? I looked at Daniel, who was growing more and more frantic, and found my answer. We didn't sign a prenup when we got married. After I die, everything I own would belong to you, which is why you wanted my life. Daniel readily admitted, yes. His eyes were filled with hatred that his plan had failed, hatred that he hadn't been able to keep his composure. He hated me, hated that I was still alive. I realized Daniel wouldn't feel any guilt, pain, or helplessness for trying to kill his wife. He thought killing a wealthy person like me and taking my assets was only natural for him. Only those with a conscience feel pain, guilt, and helplessness after doing wrong. It's a punishment from heaven. Unfortunately, Daniel had long lost his conscience. Conscience was a luxury for him. I slowly stood up and took one last look at Daniel. I had a car accident in the Bentley that Daniel had tampered with. After I called the police, they discovered the brakes had been sabotaged. At the same time, the auto shop owner went to the police station and confessed who the mastermind was. Daniel was arrested. My company's legal team also began submitting evidence of Daniel's criminal activity while abusing his position at the company. My lawyer submitted evidence that he swapped my vitamins for birth control pills, causing me physical harm. I cut off all financial support to Daniel's family. They tried to cause a scene, but the security guards removed them. Ashley sought out the child's biological father but was discovered by his wife. The wife confronted beating Ashley until she suffered a miscarriage and permanent health issues, making it difficult for her to conceive again. Daniel was sentenced for multiple offenses to 20 years. The next time I saw Daniel was in the visiting room. Daniel had aged significantly in just a few months. The word destitute wasn't enough to describe his current state. Despair felt more fitting. If hadn't tried to kill me, hadn't cheated, hadn't betrayed me, and had worked diligently for the Eleanor, I believe we would have stayed together, loving and supporting each other until old age. I had truly liked and loved Daniel. Whether ever loved me, or if it was all a calculation from beginning to end, I no longer cared to ask. We gazed at each other silently for a long time, neither speaking. My lawyer presented the divorce agreement for him to sign. Daniel looked at the divorce agreement, silent for a long while. Finally, he picked up the pen from the office desk and signed his name. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. Everything had finally settled. I stood to leave. As I reached the door, Daniel called out to me. You're truly ruthless. You've cut off all my escape routes, showing no regard for our marital bond. I scoffed at his words. I took the voice recorder from my bag and pressed play. The child isn't Daniel's. Ashley's voice echoed through the visiting room, and Daniel froze. Marital bond? Did he consider our marital bond when he tried to kill me? I mocked him. The woman you cared for so deeply, the child you looked forward to, neither of them is yours. Ashley was beaten by the child's father's wife until she suffered a miscarriage, and it will be difficult for her to have children again. Daniel's expression slowly twisted. I dropped the voice recorder on the floor and turned to leave. As soon as I reached the corridor, a gut-wrenching wail of despair and agony erupted from the visiting room. My steps faltered slightly, then I hurried away. My relationship with Daniel was completely over. Whatever happened to him was no longer my concern. I was going to start my new life. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.